I've been poodling around in Decentraland for a little while now, trying to figure out why anybody would think this is the future. Conversely, I'm finally starting to understand the appeal of nostalgia. See, the web as we know it is a platform that people can build on. This metaverse is supposed to be the next phase of technological evolution, but there's no universal metaverse platform as yet. We can't just log on to the metaverse. We have to select one of many individual platforms, few of which communicate with each other. Of course, this is why Zuckerberg wants to seize the initiative and create a metaverse standard for all of us. He wants to do for the metaverse what Microsoft did for web browsing in 1995 with Internet Explorer. So far, brands, and it's always the brands, isn't it, are pumping money into one platform in particular, Decentraland. As its name suggests, it proposes giving control to users rather than the very centralized vision Mr. Zuckerberg has for the metaverse. Decentraland had a fashion week in late March where Estee Lauder gave out 10,000 free NFTs. And in Decentraland's luxury fashion district, a single 16 square meter parcel of land can sell for $15,000. Real estate speculators, and I really think they're speculating hard on this one, have spent up to $500 million on metaverse land already. Decentraland has its own custom currency, Mana, which has a market value of $4.7 billion for reasons I don't know. Its value spiked after Facebook rebranded to Meta, but it seems like the real world is finally catching up with Mana. Its price has fallen from a high of over $5 to about $2.70 today. And monthly land sales in Decentraland have been falling for the last few months after that huge spike in late 2021. This is because, to put it simply, very few people are actually using Decentraland. Wired said Decentraland is mostly empty and with a number of concurrent users of around 1,600 in 2021, a figure that might include inactive users who remain logged on. Now, I should say Decentraland disputes Wired's estimate of 1,600 users, but even its own internal figures put that number at only 15,000 daily users. Well, that's enough background. Let's get into the action. Yeah. Check this guy out, ready to strut his virtual stuff. So we need to create an avatar, and I'm obviously not going to pay for any extras, but fortunately that inquisitively arched eyebrow is part of the free package. And if you need more proof of just how avaricious the metaverse is, check this out. Now, I never really thought of my skin as something I wear, but everything has its price in Decentraland. I mean, you have to connect a crypto wallet just to get in. The experience itself is slow. Now that could just be my browser, but it is very slow and very clunky, and many other writers seem to have found that same experience. Decentraland only works on desktop, and that's obviously not very futuristic in itself. I haven't played video games myself in quite a few years, admittedly, but when I did, they were better than this. Super Mario 64 was, 128 times better than this. But I guess those video games just didn't keep making enough money. Just imagine if they charged Mario for his skin, his hat, a little mustache comb, and what about all those years of plumbing school? Those are revenue opportunities we will never get back. That fictional little freeloader took us all for a ride, and they'll make no such mistakes in Decentraland, the libertarian paradise. I was somewhat intrigued by JP Morgan's announcement that they had launched a metaverse store because I figured they'd have to do something to jazz up their presence. As a newcomer to the scene, I was even concerned that I might not be able to find the store once I did get into Decentraland. I needn't have worried. I entered Decentraland here. There was a tiger walking about inside the store for some reason. Perhaps that's as far as the budget would stretch after paying for everything else. There was precious little else to report on my trip. I walked around a few shops, I looked at some metaverse billboards, and tried to figure out how I would actually buy products in there. To be clear, I probably wasn't going to buy them, but it's always good to know. Unfortunately, given my stance on Mr. Zuckerberg's vision for the metaverse, I must admit that the experience would benefit from integration with a social network. Even just knowing when events are happening, or where to find people I know, or where to find stores would be helpful. As it stands, in its current iteration, there's no compelling reason to hang out and spend time in Decentraland. Yet the point bears repeating. What they're trying to achieve here stands in opposition to Meta's vision. Decentraland claims that its users are also owners and they can vote to make changes to how the whole virtual world functions. It's nice in theory, but sometimes it can chafe against reality. Now, I would take the counter-argument that these are early days for Decentraland. The experience will be markedly different, unrecognizable in fact, in a couple of years. Plenty of people looked at the early websites and figured the internet must be a fad, but what we have today has come on leaps and bounds every year since then. And yet, progress is not inevitable, even if change is. If the worst people take charge of the virtual world, it'll be just like the one we already have. This one's working pretty well for them already. So far, Decentraland plays host to financial speculators and brands selling virtual clothes. But with so few customers, it's not exactly sustainable. It is telling that the one activity people have really taken to in Decentraland is gambling. Poker is big business, and the casinos are much busier than anywhere else. Analysts like to talk about the fundamentals of a business when assessing its prospects. It's hard to see what those fundamentals are in Decentraland today. Come to think of it, it's not even very much fun. For more High Tech Explains, hit the button over there. Thanks very much.